Imagine standing in front of 4 garments, hanging in a quiet, softly lit room. No noise, no mirrors, just fabric, each piece holding a silent presence, waiting for your attention. They are not ordinary clothes, they are reflections. Each one whispers something about who you are when no one is watching. Each one reveals how much of yourself you're willing to show or to hide. Before we begin, pause for a moment. Look at them. Feel which one pulls you quietly, without logic. Don't overthink it. Don't analyze color or style. Just sense it. Now, tell me in the comments, which outfit calls to you 1, 2, 3, or 4? Because what you're about to hear is not about fashion. It's about the emotional fabric you wear every day, the invisible layer between your soul and the world. You take a deep breath. The air feels still, yet charged, as if these clothes remember stories you've forgotten. They sway gently, though there's no wind, like they recognize your presence. You step closer to them, one by one. Each carries a different energy, a different kind of truth. They are symbols, reflections of the ways you try to protect yourself, the ways you love, the ways you hide, the ways you hope to be seen. You realize that every person wears something invisible, not made of cloth, but of emotion. We wear calmness to cover chaos. We wear confidence to hide fragility. We wear silence to protect what still hurts. But the question is, how much of you is still hidden beneath what you wear? You look at the first garment, white, clean, simple. It almost glows in the light. It feels pure, honest, almost childlike. This is the outfit of transparency. Those who are drawn to it crave peace, not the kind that comes from the world, but the kind that comes from truth. You long to be open, to love without masks. You've carried the weight of pretending long enough, and somewhere inside, your soul is whispering, I just want to be seen as I am. But there's a fragility in that wish, because openness invites risk. And so, even as you reach for the white cloth, a part of you hesitates, afraid of how cold the world can be when you walk through it bare. This outfit symbolizes the pure heart that wants to trust again but fears it might break. The second garment draws your gaze next, red, rich and alive. It vibrates with energy, desire, intensity. It speaks of movement, confidence, and emotion that burns just beneath the skin. This is the outfit of expression, the part of you that refuses to live half alive. You want to feel, to experience, to burn bright. You want your presence to mean something, your emotions to be heard, your love to be seen. But passion often hides a wound, the fear of being dismissed, the fear that vulnerability will be mistaken for weakness. You've been told you're too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too honest. And so you built a life that looks strong, but deep down, all you ever wanted was someone who could see the storm in your eyes and stay anyway. This outfit belongs to the heart that wants to be touched, not just physically, but soulfully. It represents the courage to feel everything, even when it hurts. Then there's the third garment, black, elegant, and mysterious. It's heavy with silence, protective like armor, dignified like a shadow that knows its own depth. This is the outfit of defense. Those who choose it are not cold, they are survivors. You've learned to stay composed when everything falls apart. You've mastered the art of not showing pain, not because you lack emotion, but because you've been punished for showing it. You cover yourself not to hide beauty, but to protect it from those who don't understand. This outfit whispers of strength born from wounds, confidence built from solitude. But it also carries loneliness, because when you hide too long behind strength, you begin to forget what it feels like to be held without reason. This outfit belongs to those who fear vulnerability, yet crave it the most. And finally, you look at the fourth garment, blue, calm, and soft. It moves like water, gentle and deep. This is the outfit of serenity, of introspection. Those who are drawn to it often live in quiet worlds, where thoughts are sacred and emotions flow inward before they ever reach the surface. You find peace in reflection, in solitude, in silence that others find unbearable. You think before you speak, you feel before you act, you carry empathy like oxygen. But even water can drown, and sometimes your calm hides an ocean of feelings that never find the shore. You long to be understood, but explaining yourself feels like breaking the spell of your own depth. This outfit represents the soul that listens more than it speaks and suffers in silence when no one listens back. You step back and look at them all, white, red, black, and blue. Each one seems to breathe with you now, like extensions of your being. You understand that none of them are wrong. Each represents a way you've learned to protect your vulnerability. Because vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the art of staying open in a world that teaches you to close. It's choosing to love even when you've been hurt. It's showing up even when you're trembling. It's being real even when reality feels too much. You close your eyes. For a moment, you feel the weight of all these layers, the ones you've worn, the ones you've hidden, the ones you still fear to try on. And you realize something gentle, something true. You don't need to choose just one outfit. You are all of them, the pure, the passionate, the strong, the serene. Each one carries a piece of your truth. Each one has protected you when you needed it. But now, it's time to wear something new, not made of fabric, but of honesty. Because the most beautiful thing you can ever wear is your soul, unguarded. You stand before the four garments again. They no longer look like simple fabrics. They look like memories you once folded and kept carefully in the closet of your soul. The air feels different now, heavier, yet honest. You can almost sense that these clothes remember the times you wore them, not on your body, but in your heart. They've seen your laughter, your silence, your pretending, and now they ask to be seen in return. You touch the first one, the white garment. It feels soft, clean, forgiving. But as your fingers move across it, you notice faint stains, invisible at first glance, yet undeniable under the right light. You realize something. Even purity carries scars. You've always wanted to do things right, to stay kind, calm, transparent. You've tried to be the light in rooms filled with noise. But peace is heavy when you force it to last forever. And in your need to stay gentle, you forgot that anger, sadness, and fear are not enemies of peace, they are its roots. You wear white because you long for harmony. But harmony isn't the absence of conflict. It's the ability to stay open while chaos passes through you. And maybe the reason you keep choosing this fabric is because you're still learning to forgive yourself for being human, not perfect, not constant, just real. Your hand moves to the second garment, the red one. It still burns with silent fire. You feel warmth beneath your skin as if it recognizes your pulse. It's passion, yes, but also defense, a shield made of expression. You've always been the one who feels deeply. You've loved too quickly, trusted too easily, spoken too honestly, and each time the world didn't meet your intensity, you built a wall with your own fire. That's why red follows you. It's not vanity, it's memory. The memory of the times you gave everything and were left standing in ashes. The memory of nights you whispered, "Next time, I'll care less," but your soul refused to listen. This outfit represents that contradiction. The one who longs to be touched, but fears to be known. You crave connection, but hide your softness in flame. You confuse vulnerability with exposure, and so you burn brighter instead of being seen. But you're starting to realize true passion isn't fire that consumes. It's warmth that stays. And real strength isn't about being loud. It's about daring to love even when it doesn't make sense. Then your hand finds the black garment. It's heavier, colder. But when you look closely, it's not lifeless. It has texture, depth, quiet, beauty. You understand now that darkness is not the absence of light. It's the womb where light is born. You've worn this color in silence for years. You've used it to blend in, to hide, to protect yourself from curious eyes that never cared to understand. You said, "I'm fine," when you were breaking. You smiled, not because you were happy, but because you didn't want to explain. Black became your language. It told the world, "Don't ask." And for a while, it worked. No one did. But in your solitude, something else grew. An understanding that walls don't just keep pain out, they also keep love from getting in. That silence may protect your heart, but it also starves it. This outfit symbolizes self-preservation, the noble instinct to survive when the world feels too sharp. But now, you sense that the survival you needed yesterday might be the prison you're still living in today. And you're starting to feel ready to unzip the armor, to let someone see the person behind the strength. Because vulnerability doesn't mean collapsing. It means standing without disguise. Finally, your eyes fall on the blue garment. It still moves like water, shimmering with reflection. You touch it gently, and it almost hums beneath your fingers. This one is not about hiding or showing. It's about feeling everything quietly. It belongs to those who live in their own depth, the thinkers, the dreamers, the empaths who listen to life between the lines. You wear it when the world feels too loud. You choose it when you need to breathe. It's the comfort of solitude, the elegance of silence. But silence, like water, can become deep enough to drown in. And you've learned that sometimes, when you stay too long in reflection, you begin to disappear from the surface. You've told yourself that people wouldn't understand your thoughts, that no one can truly meet you where you are. But the truth is simpler, you never gave them the chance. This outfit represents wisdom, but also distance. It's calm, but lonely. And the lesson it brings is clear. It's safe to let someone swim beside you. The ocean doesn't lose its depth when it's shared. You step back and see all four again. White, red, black, and blue. Now, they don't look separate. They look like pages of the same book, the book of you. You begin to understand the deeper meaning of this reflection. You've never been choosing clothes. You've been choosing defenses. Each fabric, each color, each layer, a way of asking, how much of myself am I allowed to show today? But what if today you didn't ask for permission? What if, instead of choosing an outfit, you chose honesty? Not the kind that screams, but the kind that breathes. You'd still wear white, but not to be perfect, to be clear. You'd still wear red, but not to protect, to connect. You'd still wear black, but not to hide, to feel safe while you open. You'd still wear blue, but not to withdraw, to reflect without disappearing. You realize something beautiful. The lesson isn't to remove your layers. It's to wear them consciously. To know when you're hiding and when you're protecting. To know when to stay silent and when to speak. To know that your softness isn't your weakness, it's your strength in its purest form. You take a breath and close your eyes again. Somewhere inside, you feel a quiet whisper, your own voice, gentler than ever. I'm not here to be invincible. I'm here to be whole. The fabrics sway lightly, as if they've heard you. And for the first time, you realize that why isn't about removing the armor, it's about letting light in through the cracks. There comes a time when even the strongest fabric begins to fray. You don't notice it at first. It starts as a whisper, a small discomfort, a quiet question you avoid. Then one day, life pulls at the seam you've been hiding, and something gives way. You've spent years stitching yourself together with perfection, silence, control. You've worn these invisible garments as protection from the unpredictable world. But protection always comes with a price, because when you keep everything in place for too long, you stop breathing. And what was once a safe layer becomes a cage made of your own caution. It's not the world that begins to tear your fabric, it's your soul asking to feel again. You try to fix it, of course. You smooth the edges, pretend the rip isn't there, tell yourself you're fine. But it grows. Each time you lie to yourself, I'm not hurt, I don't care, it doesn't matter. The thread unravels a little more. One day, you stop pretending. You catch a reflection of yourself, not in a mirror, but in a moment. Maybe it's the way someone looks at you and sees the sadness behind your smile. Maybe it's the silence after a conversation where you didn't speak your truth. Or maybe it's just the sound of your own heart beating louder than your excuses. Whatever it is, you know it's time. You can't patch yourself back the way you were. You reach for the first garment again, the white one. Once, it made you feel clean, peaceful, in control. Now it feels fragile, almost too thin to wear. You see through it now. Not just the light passing through the fabric, but the illusion that purity means perfection. You finally understand. You don't need to be untouched to be pure. You just need to be honest. Your scars don't dirty you. They prove you've lived. And maybe the reason life tore this fabric was so you could see how beautiful you still are beneath it. Then your eyes turn to the red garment. It used to make you feel alive, fiery, unstoppable, bold. But lately, that fire has burned too close to your heart. You've confused passion with protection, expression with armor. You start to see that not every emotion needs to be loud to be real. You can love without losing balance. You can be vulnerable without collapsing. You can be seen without performing. As you hold the red cloth, you notice something. The tear in it looks almost like a heart. And you smile, because maybe that's what all broken things are trying to tell you. The cracks are just openings for light to enter. You move toward the black garment. It's heavy in your hands, but softer now. It doesn't look intimidating anymore, it looks tired. You realize it has carried too much for too long. You remember the times you hid behind this color, times when it was easier to seem strong than to admit you were scared. But every time you chose silence instead of truth, another thread loosened. Now you see the tear running down its sleeve. And instead of mending it, you do something different. You run your fingers along the tear, and for the first time, you let it stay open, because that's what vulnerability is. Not repairing the wound to pretend it never existed, but keeping it open long enough to let healing breathe through. The black fabric doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be felt. Finally, you approach the blue garment. It hangs quietly, as it always has. You've always loved its calmness, the way it made the world slower, gentler. But now, as you hold it, you see the danger of living too deep in thought. The tear on this one is almost invisible, hidden inside the folds, like the emotions you've hidden inside yourself. You realize how many times you've mistaken distance for peace, how often you've confused reflection with escape. Your calmness has been both your blessing and your shield. And now the tear in this fabric feels like a sigh, the sound of your soul saying, it's time to return to the surface. You don't need to drown in introspection anymore. You can let others see the beauty of your depth. You can speak softly and still be heard. You lay the four garments side by side. Their tears, their imperfections, their quiet beauty all visible now. You used to think brokenness was something to fix. Now, you see, it's something to integrate. Each tear is a moment you stop pretending. Each loose thread is a truth you finally allowed to exist. Each hole is an invitation to let the wind in, to let your soul breathe again. You understand now? Vulnerability doesn't happen when everything falls apart. It happens when you stop trying to hold it all together. You sit quietly and think of how many times you fought to stay strong. How many times you've smiled while your voice trembled. How many times you said, I'm fine, while your heart whispered otherwise. But what if you stopped fighting? What if you let the tear remain not as a mark of failure, but as proof of transformation? You realize that the fabric of your being was never meant to stay flawless. It was meant to move, to stretch, to break, and to be remade. You were never meant to stay untouched. You were meant to evolve. You close your eyes and breathe deeply. You can feel the soft edges of all 4 fabrics brushing your skin. White, red, black, blue, all blending, all part of you. They no longer ask to be chosen. They ask to be accepted. You whisper to yourself, it's okay to come undone. It's how the soul exhales. And in that moment, something shifts. The garments no longer hang heavy. They rise weightless, almost glowing, like your old selves bowing gracefully to the person you are becoming. You don't need to cover your vulnerability anymore. It's no longer something to hide. It's the very proof that you're alive, that you've loved, lost, fallen, and still dared to open again. The room is quiet now. The garments that once defined you rest softly on the floor, white, red, black, blue, their folds touched by the gentle light filtering through the window. They are no longer choices. They are memories. And you stand there, breathing, unwrapped, uncovered, unafraid. For the first time, you feel what it means to be truly naked, not in body, but in being. There's nothing left to hide behind. And strangely, it doesn't feel empty. It feels free. Because underneath all the layers you've ever worn, there was always someone waiting, someone real, fragile, alive. You take a slow breath. The air feels like truth, crisp, simple, undeniable. You realize now that vulnerability was never the opposite of strength. It was its purest expression. When you covered yourself with perfection, you called it control. When you hid behind passion, you called it fire. When you retreated into silence, you called it peace. But none of those were peace. They were pauses, places to rest until you were brave enough to be seen again. Now, you're ready. You no longer need to become something to deserve love. You just need to be. You look again at the garments scattered across the floor. They look different now, soft, harmless, even beautiful. You realize they were never enemies. They were your teachers. The white one taught you about sincerity, that light doesn't mean perfection, it means presence. The red one taught you about courage, that love is only real when it stays open after breaking. The black one taught you about dignity, that strength doesn't mean silence, it means endurance. And the blue one taught you about depth, that reflection is sacred, but it's not meant to replace living. Each one protected a part of you that wasn't ready to stand alone. And now they've fulfilled their purpose. They can rest. You close your eyes. In the quiet, you hear something not from outside, but from deep within. A pulse, a rhythm, the steady sound of your own existence. It's so familiar, yet it feels like hearing it for the first time. You realize this sound was always there, beneath every word, every fear, every disguise. It was you, the part of you that doesn't need validation, labels, or approval. The part that simply is. This is the self that doesn't dress to impress, doesn't hide to survive, doesn't speak to be heard. It just lives. And as you listen, a strange tenderness fills the room, the tenderness of being enough. You think back to the moments in your life that broke you open, the heartbreaks, the silences, the failures you swore you'd never recover from, and you smile because now you see what they really were. Moments when life gently undressed your soul, reminding you that you were never meant to be covered in the first place. Pain wasn't punishment. It was polishing. It stripped away what wasn't real so you could finally feel what was. You understand now that every tear was a conversation between you and the universe, every scar a note in the melody of becoming. You were never being destroyed. You were being revealed. You open your eyes again and notice something beautiful. Light is everywhere. It doesn't just come through the window. It seems to come from you. It moves softly across your skin, reflects off the tears you're no longer ashamed of. You don't try to wipe them away. You let them fall not as weakness, but as gratitude. Because tears, when accepted, are not signs of pain. They're the body's way of saying, I've returned to truth. You whisper quietly to yourself. I'm no longer afraid to be seen. And the air responds still, silent, approving. You take a step forward, leaving the garments behind. The floor feels cool under your feet. The world, once harsh, now feels gentle. You realize it was never the world that hurt you. It was the armor you used to wear against it. And now, without it, everything feels closer. The warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of your breath, the texture of being alive. You feel the pulse of existence itself, as if the universe has leaned closer, whispering, welcome back. You understand now that vulnerability isn't the end of protection. It's the beginning of connection. It's the moment your soul stops hiding from life and starts dancing with it. And in that dance, you discover that nothing real can be lost. Only what was false falls away. This is what freedom feels like. Not escape, but surrender. Not control, but trust. Not hiding, but standing open in the wind, knowing that whatever comes will move through you, not against you. You don't need to hold the world together anymore. You just need to hold yourself gently. You walk toward the door. The light outside is soft, infinite, alive. You take one last look at the garments, whisper a quiet thank you, and step forward not as the person you were, but as the truth you finally allowed yourself to become. The world greets you exactly as you are, bare, real, radiant, and as you cross the threshold, you feel something you've longed for all your life. Not admiration, not control, not safety, but peace. Peace that comes when you stop performing. Peace that begins where pretending ends. Peace that arrives when you no longer need to be anything other than what you are. And somewhere in that stillness, you hear the quiet echo of life saying, now you are ready to love not as armor, but as light. You smile. You are no longer afraid of being seen, because for the first time, you are no longer hiding from yourself.